Ball from Baumwalker Stadium in Northwest Arkansas. Winner has turned to some. Kansas State by a run, came back to defeat TCU by a run, and then had the 8-6 victory over the Michigan Wolverines on Sunday. Well,
He's out. I think out of one appearance, probably didn't go as planned, but it's still very early. I think we're kind of working some kinks out. And so
Grambling State, and they have not had a problem scoring runs. That's been one area I know Coach has been happy with.
No, Grambling State has been tremendous at scoring runs. I think on the defensive side is kind of more the question with these guys.
No doubt. So Trey Bridges will bat 3-hole. Fun couple of hitters at the top of the lineup from a team that last year won the SWAC conference tournament, and we'll tell you more about that as we go along. But how about a Arkansas native, Martavius Thomas, who's going to step in to begin things? Could we have ordered up a better day considering what last week was like weather-wise?
Absolutely not. This is night and day compared to last week.
You had the kids home all week. You were making lunches, entertaining them. We get you out of the house, get some baseball, and we're ready to go.
I was running here.
76 degrees. Ben Bybee ready. I think that's a swing, and it is, says our plate umpire Matthew Anderson. Timmy Cordell umpires at first. Joshua Shepitz at second. Joshua Nolan at third. And there's the Arkansas native Thomas. He's got his mom and dad here. Pretty excited to play against the Razorbacks. And there's always a skip in the step, and you know this from these opponents when they come in and a chance to play in this venue.
Oh, yes. Grambling, I think, really enjoys coming to play Arkansas. And because they have a chance. They've played some good, close games against Arkansas, and there's nothing better coming in and taking a win from a top-5 team.
Better enjoy it because they had to bus up this morning about 5 hours, and they'll bus right back tonight. But those are the numbers a year ago for Martavius Thomas. Off to a 320 beginning this year for a team hitting 280. Bybee's pitch misses, and the count 3-1. So Ben Bybee again has thrown one inning, given up a run. Tomahawks one on the ground to the second baseman, Susan. Easy play to begin things, and Martavius Thomas is retired. He's working on that swing as he jogs back to first. I was curious if Sousa was going to play second or maybe Kojal. Nolan struggled a little bit with the bat. Also Rocco Pepe at first base. For the most part, Logan, it looks like DVH is running out most of his starters, and you do have that luxury on a Tuesday game maybe to play somebody who didn't get a lot of opportunities in the 3 games in Arlington, but I think also you hate to have your starters go a full week without getting some at-bats.
That is true. If you got guys, especially your starting 9, you're wanting them to stay consistent in the games. But like you said, it's a great chance for DVH to give a guy a break that might be struggling a little bit or keep a guy out there that's looking good at the plate.
Nyan Hayes, Arkansas State transfer. 7 hits on the season. And Bybee's pitch misses down and out. Arkansas played that game last Monday in the cold, then went to Arlington for 3 indoors. Grambling played in Florida at Vero Beach. I think for the most part, you hate to lose games, and even if you have to kind of suffer through, you're trying to avoid long interruptions where maybe you lose 2 out of 3 in a weekend or you can't play midweek.
Yeah, you're trying to keep that momentum, especially when you're putting up runs like Grambling is.
Outfield quite a bit around towards right center. Thomas Jr. is in center rather than Davalon today, and Bybee spikes one, the count 2-2. They were part of the Andre Dawson Classic. That was in Vero. They call it the Jackie Robinson Training Complex. Used to call it Dodgertown, where Brooklyn and then L.A. trained for a number of years. Had a couple of wins, and again, they're playing teams within their own league, which is somewhat unique in non-conference games. And that one's rope foul, but Logan, I should say, they got to play in a couple of games that were on national television on the MLB Network. So what an awesome opportunity for them, not just to play at Dodgertown, but to play on MLB Network.
Absolutely. I mean, the more you can get out there, especially at Grambling State, like they're trying to entice players to come play for their organization or for their school and their head coach. And I love what he's done at this. I mean, you just saw him out in BP. The energy's there. They have fun. He's trying to bring guys in, and he's putting their program in a position like getting games on MLB Network.
Energy, too, and I think that's kind of infectious.
Yes, you could definitely tell. I think they finished out a BP game towards the end.
They must have. There was some antics going on
There was
down
something
there.
going on. I was curious what's going on down there.
After a ground out, Bybee with the base on balls to Nyan Hayes, and here's Trey Bridges, the left fielder. Mississippi native. 6 for 11 that opening weekend. Tell you what, one thing I'm going to watch today is will Grambling run, and if so, will they do it early? I mean, sometimes if running's part of your DNA, you'll run whether you're ahead or behind, but they're 21 of 22 on stolen bases this year.
They have got some guys that can run, and I think they've got some guys that are starting to kind of understand how to steal a base too. You see these attempts with the caught stealings, and there's not many of the guys that have been caught.
And I suppose it's a little bit like, timing at the plate. It takes a little rhythm and game experience to kind of feel like this will go to second base, but the Razorbacks play the carom and get the second out of the inning. As a second baseman, does that make you a little bit nervous when your first baseman dives and deflects a ball? Do you feel like you got time to recover if he deadens it enough?
Don't overcommit.
I thought as hard as that ball was hit from Bridges, it might find its way into right. 2 gone for Cameron Hill. He's hit a couple of home runs this year. 2-homer game, in fact. And had 12 runs batted in the first weekend of the season. 17 homers a year ago for Hill. That was at Hines Junior College. Good pitch from Bybee for a strike.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, back to the stolen bases. I mean, I think you kind of take a look at how the game's playing out, and early, why not try it out? You get some times from the catcher, you get some times from the pitcher, you can kind of set up your run game for the rest of the game. But also with a staff like Arkansas and how deep that bullpen is out there, do you really want to run yourself out of the innings?
It's always a scare. It's that risk-reward allocation of giving up outs. Feels like they really want to play kind of an up-tempo style of baseball to put some pressure on teams, maybe steal a couple of runs. Good take from Hill. And Bybee's had a little bounce in a couple of those pitches.
Mm-hmm. Curveball just doesn't seem to find that release point just yet.
Hayes at second, 2 gone. We're just...
When Nick, seeing him warm up right now, he's kind of over the top with that fastball. Per the scouting report, it's not as over the top as these warm-up pitches look like. He's more three-quarter slot with a top-to-bottom curveball and a little slider. I think that's a kind of mix of that curveball that he throws him probably a little bit harder for more of an out pitch later in the at-bat. So he's got a changeup, but it's rare. So we'll see how he attacks these lefties and see if he has enough comfort to pull out that changeup against the right-handers.
Indeed we will. Here's the lineup. The Razorbacks will run out there. Davilon will be in left field. They had a big game against Michigan on Sunday. Then Maxwell Iredale, Eloy as well. So we got both of the Eloys in there. One is the shortstop, one is the DH. Pepe back at first. Sousa at second. Helfer catching. Thomas Jr. in center. So a little bit of a change. We saw Thomas Jr. a couple of weekends ago in left and Davilon in center. Davilon 7 for 28. And a lefty-lefty matchup. That one's outside. Of course, a former big leaguer. I'm always curious on your opinions when you see these guys. And, we touched on Davilon's swing a couple of weekends ago, Logan, but the way he hangs that front leg in the air, it is different, a little bit unique. I mean, there are others that have done that, but not a lot.
Some guys that are strong on their backside are able to kind of hover, and it's a timing mechanism for him. I feel like he starts it early, he hangs, and the benefit, if you're able to do that, it does create a lot of moving parts in the swing, but for him to be able to get that leg up, it's almost like, your load for a traditional, batting style.
Could you have done that?
I had a little bit at one point in time, yeah. When you lift early, you can either put your foot down quick or you can kind of let it hang a little bit if you have a decent enough balance in the box.
3-1 the count. Did not spend a lot of time this year talking about Arkansas and whether they would hit and run more or just run more. Well, they haven't to this point. I told you about all the stolen bases Grambling has had in 21. Arkansas has had just 6. That's tied for 14th, but it might as well be tied for last because 3 teams in the SEC are tied for 14th. But there haven't been a ton of opportunities. Arkansas had a couple of games that are a little bit quiet against Washington State. Faced good pitching over the weekend. And here is Vahiva Aloy. And we touched on Vahiva and what his brother Cahillo did in Arlington. I think the exciting part for me, Aloy was named the SEC Player of the Week based on that Arlington performance. A year ago, he came out of that Rangers ballpark. He was 0 for 13, and he was maybe overswinging. He had some strikeouts, and I think he was already starting to race mentally, like, my goodness, what's going on? And this year he's just in a much better spot.
He seems that way. I mean, mentally, his presence in the box seems like it's more controlled and not as much pressure on himself. He has that presence of a guy that's going to be a top pick, and I think now he kind of understands his game a little bit better, and I think he's gonna have a heck of a year.
That's what he did in Arlington, and last week, a couple of home runs. He's kind of simplified his batting stance as well, coming off about half a summer in the Cape. I think anytime you tinker with your stance a little bit, you want to see results. That's obvious. Nobody wants to make a change or an adjustment and then have it not work. He's going to take a strike, but it is nice when you feel like all that hard work paid off.
It is, yes. And to your previous point, yeah, that process, a lot of guys don't enjoy going through that process. But if you trust a hitting coach.
To begin his outing, walking the first 2 Razorbacks that he's faced.
Not ideal, I would say. He's around the zone. He's around the zone.
He is. He's not missing by a lot. Logan Maxwell was 0 for 6 over the weekend. He's in right, so Kendall Diggs getting the day off, at least to start. And the pitch misses down and out. Arkansas did play Maxwell's former team, TCU. Logan went 0 for 3, scored a run, drew a walk. That was the game on Saturday. Already a quick mound visit, and Coach Pierre said he was going to meet with his team last night, and the one thing he was going to tell them, hey, the fans are going to start calling the Hogs. He knew the guys were going to start looking up into the crowd, and he wanted them to kind of understand the stage and kind of stay within themselves. And I know sometimes that's easier said than done when you're trying to avoid making a mistake and you don't want to see Arkansas put up a big inning early.
That is true, but I mean it's hard not to notice Bomb Stadium.
Yeah, it is, and even though they played at Minute Maid Park for 3 games, they played at the Jackie Robinson Training Complex. This is a non-neutral site, so a couple of walks and a mound visit, and Maxwell has a count of 1-0. Maxwell played 2 of the first 4 games, kind of dealing with a little bit of a hammy issue. Going to show bunt, takes a strike. Coach Van Horn has been asked about when he might throw Maxwell into the outfield and not DH him. I think it was a couple of days ago he said when he's really ready. So apparently that means not when he's ready, but when he's really ready, he's going to put him out there. That hammy, I guess, has been just enough of a concern that you don't want anything to go sideways on.
Hammies are always a concern. I mean, it could be one false step when you're almost all the way back, and it can set you back another 2 to 3 weeks. It's a tough injury.
Especially if it's on the fly out and there's one gone.
Great base running right there by Davalon.
Thought he might have caught me by surprise, but he didn't catch the Tigers. Wasn't a bad throw, just a little bit up in the zone.
Yeah. I wonder if he did that because the left fielder took over that ball.
Good point, right? If the center fielder?
If center fielder has that, he's got a better angle with a better, probably quicker release to third base. But when Davalon saw that left fielder coming across, he's got to go back across his body.
I like how you think.
Mm-hmm.
Brent Iredale, 25 homers a year ago in the junior college ranks. Went 2 for 9 with a run batted in Arlington. Of course, we saw him the opening weekend. Hit a couple of home runs and just missed 2 more. he was not a big fan to get Aloy. He wants a review. But if the call stands, Arkansas has lost a base runner and there's 2 outs. He felt pretty confident that he got in, but I thought the throw had beat him by kind of a wide margin.
Yeah, that throw definitely beat him. I don't know if he snuck his hand in there, but it's an interesting play right there with Iredale up at the plate and with a runner in scoring position, less than 2.
This will be reviewed. It'll be reviewed on site for these non-conference games. It is the one aspect, I think, maybe of reviews. The neighborhood play has been one that we've seen some reviews that in just real time, you kind of give the benefit of the doubt when the fielder's there or the ball's there before the runner, and I think this is another one. Normally when this throw's there in quite a bit of time, you're going to get that out called. Then the question is, did he swim around the tag? I think he's out. But what do you think?
Unless he missed him, there's no way.
And 4 umpires here in SEC games at SEC Stadium, so you don't have to worry about that constant rotation where maybe 2 or 3. But if I made it out on the bases early in the game, I think I'd be begging for a replay too. It's like, get me off the hook.
Yes, right.
Help me out.
It is nice, to your point, about the consistency of umpires, especially like the SEC guys that you see week in, week out. You can kind of, how they go about a game, how you kind of can you talk to them, can you approach them? If I snap back at an umpire, I might have a target on my back for the rest of the weekend. No, not at all.
Probably not in the college ranks.
Mm-mm.
There's one guy who kind of speaks for everybody in the college game in each dugout.
Yes.
See it one more time. They do have the Hawkeye technology with higher resolution. You see the throw there. Now the question is, does he raise that left arm and kind of get that right arm in there? And if that's the best angle we have, he's going to be out.
I don't know if we're going to overturn that.
That's a bit grainy. The Hawkeye technology might be different. But it's been a longer review than maybe I anticipated. In conference games, they go back to the command center. For the non-con games, they go to the pit of confusion. We're seeing some of the Hawkeye technology on the video board, which is higher resolution, a little bit like tennis. You've got 6 cameras between first and third around the interior ring of the stadium. And we've come to a grinding halt.
You always wonder if they have a different angle than what we're seeing out here.
We're going to take a look at the Hawkeye. So this is obviously higher definition. The throws there, does he miss that left arm?
There's space there, but
if he misses the arm, then does he tag him on the chest while that right arm is still not quite to the base?
No, he scoops it. Replaying for however long it's been now.
It has to be about 5 minutes. We had a case in that opening series where the umpires came back out. They talked to Nathan Choate without giving us an indication. And what they were telling him is, well, the monitor didn't work. We didn't have a look. And then they went back, and apparently it did work. And that was a lengthy review. You understood it because the technology wasn't working. What do we got? He's out. Well, that took 5 minutes.
Thank goodness we didn't hold our breath. That was a tough one, though. I give it to him. There was some space there on the glove.
That will be a caught stealing, though, for Vahiva Aloy. And Arkansas almost has as many caught stealings as stolen bases. The count 0-1 to Iredale. And Robinson misses outside. So 2 walks, a fly out, a caught stealing, and Davalon is over at third. Good pitch.
Mm-hmm.
At the true bottom. But you really
Cái gì đấy? Không. Bóc phải bên kia đi nhé. Đểดูcon tay đấy.